Want to learn about perseverance in children's writing? Then this is the episode for you. Hi, my name is author Tonya Duncan Ellis with another episode of Write This, my author interview show. Today I'm pleased to welcome Jilanne Hoffman to talk about her journey to becoming a picture book writer and her newest book. We'll learn about perseverance and how she went through many years of work, research, and other things, overcoming many obstacles to make her dream come true. And I see that she has joined here, so I'm going to send her an invite. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I've seen her book on another show and heard about her journey, and it's been wonderful. Let's see, she's coming on. Hi, how are you doing?
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
What are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm so happy to see you. I had meant to reach out to you earlier this week. I had a toothache this week and went to the dentist yesterday, and I feel great today, but
Oh,
I was like, she's going to think I forgot about her, but sorry I didn't reach out prior to and chat with you before then. But I'm so happy to have you on.
no worries. I'm glad your mouth is better because, like tooth things can really throw you for a loop. It's bad.
Right. I've never had that happen to me before, and it was terrible. So I'm so glad I'm feeling better today.
Oh, good.
But thank you. Thank you for joining us. I want to thank all the people who've tuned in. And I've seen you on 12 by 12 talking about your book and journey, the 12 by 12 picture book challenge, if anyone is unfamiliar.
That's
And it was incredible to me. I loved hearing your story. So I'm so glad that you had the time to come on today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's just, this journey is kind of a lonely one if you just kind of like stay in your own little hole and don't talk to people and don't see what other people are doing. And I think it's just so important to like have this big community of people around you to help support you,
Right, exactly. Now, can you tell us a little bit about where are you based and tell us a little bit about your book?
Oh, sure. I am in San Francisco.
Oh,
Uh, it is raining cats and
oh,
dogs here today. Uh, I won't complain about that because we've had so many years of drought. Um, my book, this one that is in reverse because, of course, Instagram Live does reverse, River of Dust, is about the journey that dust makes from North Africa across the Atlantic Ocean, landing in the Amazon rainforest and feeding the Amazon rainforest. And without that dust, the Amazon would not be what it is today.
right.
So,
That's incredible. That is incredible.
yeah, it was
Now, what inspired
it,
you to write it?
oh, I'm sorry.
How did you get inspired to write this book? Like, what got you this
Uh,
idea?
it's funny that because that was like what I was just going to say. Uh, I was a kid living in the Midwest in the, gosh, I can't even remember what year it was, but there was a news story. I came home from school and there was a news story, the evening news, and there was a big to do about dust flying from Africa, landing not just in the US, but in the Midwest. It was flying all the way to the Midwest too. And so I ran outside and I was like, where is it? And I see it. And I'm like,
Wow.
it doesn't look any different, you know? We have a lot of dust in the Midwest, and it did not look any different. And they didn't really know a lot about it then. And it took years and years and years. And I was just telling kids at KidQuake, I had to wait almost 50 years to find out what all the details, like how much, where it actually, I mean, it goes everywhere. Dust is pretty amazing. There's dust from the Gobi Desert that flies across the Pacific and lands in California. I mean, dust is just really fascinating. And so I found out all this information. I got an email from NASA, and I'm a science writer, so I am on a lot of lists. And I got an email from NASA saying, we now know, and here's why we now know. And NASA has some amazing satellites that are measuring all kinds of things. They're Earth observation satellites. And that's one of the reasons we all.
And I can't hear you. Oh, shoot. Okay. Somehow I couldn't hear you. That's cool. And this week I live in Houston and I am part of a volunteer group that took some children to Space Center Houston this
Yeah.
week. So we got to see where the astronauts train and all this stuff. But this is just incredible to me because I never would even think about dust. So it's just neat to even see how the smallest thing in our world can be something that inspires us creatively.
Yes, yes. And it also, it's like something so small can make such a big difference. And I think that's a great metaphor for kids too, right?
Yes, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is incredible. Now, I wanted to talk with you specifically about perseverance as it pertains to being a creator,
Mhm.
just to get people a feel for the length of your journey. You've already shared that you were inspired as a child, or you became interested in dust as a child. So, can you kind of map out what your journey was like for those tuning in?
Ah. um, I've been a freelance writer for a long time, a freelance science writer, especially. But I've done all kinds of things like grant writing, that kind of thing. And I had a son in 2003. He was born in 2003, and I started reading picture books. And I was struggling to have the time to do all of my freelance work and still have a baby. And I started reading picture books, and I thought, you know, these are short. These are something I could do in my spare time, right?
Yeah.
And like so many of us, we think that they're easy because they're short. And I
Mhm.
think the opposite is true because you are trying to distill moments, you're trying to distill emotions, you're trying to distill the heart of whatever it is that you're trying to convey in so few words, right?
Mhm.
Of course, you have the illustrations to help you do that, but it is poetry, right? It
Mhm.
doesn't matter. You are trying to condense and distill, and that is really hard work. um, so when I got serious about this, it was 10 years after he was born, and I joined SCBWI. And my first picture books, I think, were more like chapter books.
Mhm.
Because I didn't really, you think I've read picture books. I know how to do this. Not a problem. But it is a problem because you haven't really studied them.
All right.
Reading them is different than studying them, right? And so I started studying, and I joined 12 by 12, which was a huge, it had a huge impact on my journey.
Mhm.
Webinars, everything, just the information, the community that is shared there is just really amazing. I joined 12 by 12. I went to the Highlights Foundation. I had critique partners and critique groups, and all of that kind of culminated in getting an agent in 2015, I believe it was. And it
Okay.
was not a good experience. And that person is no longer in the industry. So that was a piece that kind of set me back on my journey because it took me another couple of years to kind of be brave enough to go back out and
Mhm.
query and do all the things that you need to do to get your work out there. And but I continued to learn and study. And at the time, I also thought, like, there are so many reasons to just throw in the towel, right? There are so many reasons. You just can't take it anymore. You can't stand the rejection, right? Uh, it can be super discouraging, and you feel like you're not getting anywhere. But at the time, I know I was thinking like, I have this son who is watching me carefully to see how I respond to things, right? As a cue to how he should respond to things, right? And if I respond in a negative way, or if I just say, oh, I've had it, I'm not going to do this anymore, then he could see that as a sign that, mom really wants to do this, but she's just going to give up,
Mm-hmm.
and do that. I couldn't do that for me, and I couldn't do that for him. I really wanted to succeed, and I wanted to do it for him. And I don't know. I also felt that I have all these stories like you, like everyone else has all of these stories that are inside them that if you give up, you won't be sharing those stories with anyone else ever, right? And kids need stories, they need inspiration, and they need it across the breadth of our world, right? Not just narrow tracks. So yeah, I persevered because it was important to me, and it was important for me to show my son and
Right.
everybody. Yeah.
Now, were there any things that you did to help keep yourself motivated aside from just, I guess, remembering your why
Yeah.
that you wanted to? Are there any other things that helped you?
The community.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Know, because if you surround yourself with people who believe in you, that's a huge important thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just your family, because your family isn't in the industry. They don't really get like what it feels like to get 6 rejections in a week.
Mm-hmm.
They don't, they have an outside perspective, but people inside the industry, your community, really get it. And I think that's super important, because you can text somebody saying, oh, I just got another rejection, and this one
Mm-hmm.
said the opposite of what a different rejection said, right?
Right.
What should I
Mm.
do? And they can talk you down off the ledge, and 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 really help you stay the course. I mean, 12 by 12, right? There a long time ago, the saying went around of don't get off the bus. Don't get off the bus, because if you get off the bus, you'll never get anywhere, right? You will
Mm-hmm.
stay wherever it is that you are. If you stay on the bus, then you will make progress, right? And eventually you will get to where you're going, right?
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah. And CTC, the Courage to Create Community at the Writing Barn. Oh my gosh.
So you've been in all the communities.
Yeah,
You've been in all.
it's important. It's like, it feeds you in a certain way, right? And some days you really need somebody else to feed you so that you can keep going.
Mm.
And so I can't say enough about community. It's so important.
Right. So that seems like that was kind of the key to keep you encouraged as you've been moving along in the journey, is these communities.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have critique partners. One of the reasons why I did my book launch for A River of Dust, I did it through the Writing Barn online. One of the reasons why I did that is my community is so spread out. It's around the world, right? And it was the opportunity to celebrate with everybody. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
just the people that live near me,
Mm-hmm.
right? That would be able to come. I wanted to celebrate with everybody, because it took me, it was 8 years, I believe, from start to finish for A River of Dust.
Wow, 8 years. Woo.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
yeah.
I know. And
So
then, so that's your debut. Is that your debut?
yes,
Right.
yes. I also have these 2 little board books that came out in 2023.
Ooh, those are
Um,
cute.
yes, they're sweet. They're sweet. They're also nonfiction. One is about getting your little camper out into the world to experience life
Mm-hmm.
and this journey of camping. And the other is about how honey is made, how it gets in that little bear bottle. So yeah,
Okay, that's cool.
yeah.
And so how did your son react when the River of Dust came out? Is that it's a River of Dust? Okay.
Yeah, he was very proud of me, and I it makes me want to cry
Oh,
because I mean I other good news thankfully since then, and I can just see him smile. I mean he's now a sophomore in college.
right, right. Yeah. That is wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing that, the journey took a long time. How long does it take Dust to move from Africa over to the United States?
Well, it depends on the jet stream. Some
Uh-huh.
of it takes about 4 to 5
Oh,
days
okay.
for it
Oh,
to
well, that's not that long. I was thinking it would take. So it took a
no.
long time for this to come. Yeah. And it
Yeah.
looks amazing. I saw you did a reading of the book on the 12 by 12, and then you kind of had some kind of little map where you mapped out your journey. Is that on your Instagram page? Or
Um,
you posted it or did something later? Or maybe I just
posted,
resaw it.
posted, I posted the emotional journey,
Yeah.
kind of like Sylvia Chen with the little emojis,
Oh, okay.
because it went from, like, oh, this is the greatest book to, oh, it's a piece of journalism. It's not going to appeal to, you
Right.
know, um, to, oh, I've got a new idea. I'm going to tell it from the point of view of a child. This is going to be great, and and it didn't ring true. And the critiques were like, no, no, it's not there yet. And then Miranda Paul said, why don't you write it from the Dust perspective? Come on, just do it. It took me a year.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah,
And it's a picture book. So people don't realize, yeah, that how much work goes into picture book writing
yeah,
and getting
yeah,
it just right.
yes,
So that's amazing.
yes.
But yeah, so really you would encourage people just to get in community if they want to be able to withstand all the challenges, I guess.
Yeah, rejection can be a very lonely, personal feeling thing, and if you're alone and being rejected, it's really hard to pull yourself up from those things. I really think you just need somebody who understands, even if it's one person that you can
Mhm.
go to and share your feelings and hopes and dreams, and just someone that can prop you up when you are
Mhm.
pretty limp, you
Right.
know?
And
Um,
what I noticed too is even when you get agents, even in the submission, you have the rejection. So
yeah,
the whole writing journey is constant rejection.
yes, yes. And yeah, and I mean, I have this novel that uh, it's going to be announced soon, so I can't say a whole lot about it.
Yay, awesome.
And it got it had an offer uh, a year ago in September, and
Right.
I was super excited, right?
Mhm.
And then made it through editorial. Editorial loved it, right?
Mhm.
And then editorial has to sell it to sales and marketing so
Mhm.
that they can get behind the book and want to sell it. And um, it was really kind of devastating to find out that they would only publish it. Sales and marketing only wanted to publish it if it was not set in the time period. It's a historical middle
Mhm.
grade. If it was not set in that time period. And they wanted a contemporary novel. And they came back with that offer saying that they would give me an offer if I would agree to set it in a contemporary time frame.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, I thought long and hard about that because it's you want to sell your book, right?
Right, right.
But it would just, I couldn't do it because there was a very particular reason why I said it in that time period, because of what was going on at that time. And they thought I don't know. Anyway, I said no. And it was a really hard thing to do, but I did. And then about 6 or 7 months later, my agent came to me and I had had passes, lovely passes ever since on that same book, right? No one else had made an offer. And my agent came to me and said, Jill, you know, maybe she'd been talking to some other people, maybe if you try to do a parallel timeline with your historical timeline and a contemporary timeline and weave them together, maybe that will fly. And I thought that, and it allowed me to keep what I needed to keep, right? But also include this new thread. And I wrote a synopsis. I read about 15 middle grades that had parallel timelines. And I decided that this was something that I could do. And I sent a proposal package through my agent back to the editor that had made the original offer. And they bought it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's do it. So I am so because this book will finally be out in the world. It's another art, and but it was really important for me to stick to that. You know, if you find that you to do something that doesn't feel right, even though you might really, really, really want it, don't say yes, because you will feel bad about it, right? Your heart will no longer be in it. And I think that you have to feel in your heart that it is the right thing to do with your manuscript.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I'm so happy that you stuck to what you felt was right and it worked out perfectly in the end. So that was wonderful. Yes, I'm so happy for you. Yeah, congratulations on that. We'll look forward to seeing that when it comes out.
Yes, it hopefully, fingers crossed, hopefully that will be fall 2025.
Yeah, and that's showing again just being patient, you know, that you've had to be patient through all this. Because I could see myself going, oh, I want to do it. But then when you had to promote it, it wouldn't be how you wanted it to be. You wouldn't be feeling it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And your heart has to be behind your book, I think. At least for me, my heart should be there, because otherwise, I don't know. It feels like somebody else's work, even though it's mine. If I've done something that doesn't feel right to me, it doesn't feel like my work anymore. It feels like something that somebody else imposed on me, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
But this is incredible to think that as a little girl, you were excited about the dust, and then it's come full circle. Now you have this book, you're educating people about this. So that is so wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like to think of it also as a bedtime book. It's really kind of funny because I call it STEM with a beating heart, because it's comforting to know that, and this is how I read it to kids, and how I read it like during my launch. I ask people to close their eyes and think about how they stay connected to people, how they stay connected to people they love who might not be nearby, right? They might live across the country, they might live somewhere else in the world, they might not get to see them very often. So how do they stay connected? And then to imagine Africa and South America have been separated for 250 million years. And yet they have figured out a way to stay connected, right? Through this dust. And so dust is kind of like a love letter from Africa to South America saying, I remember you. I know that we are still connected. And 250 million years from now, they'll be connected again.
Ooh.
So it's like a comforting thing for kids at bedtime, knowing that there are people out there who love them, who might not be nearby, but who are still connected to them. And maybe they'll get to see them in a month or a year or sometime down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I see it as a book about connection too.
Wow, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing your stories.
Oh, my.
And yes, thank you. This has been really neat to see. And I want to encourage everyone to check out her website and Instagram. What are your, and where can they find you? Where are the links? Everyone can connect with you.
If my website is JilanneHoffman.com. My whole name is JilanneHoffman.com. And also my link tree. My link tree will send you to every place.
Oh, okay.
So just do Jilanne Hoffman link tree. You'll find me there as well. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tonya. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for sharing. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and tuning in. And I want to wish everybody happy holidays. I can't believe it's going to be Christmas in less than a week. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. And we will see you again next year for another fun episode of Write This. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.